What a joy for us to be able to gather like this, other humans in a space, real live humans. I know we're wearing masks today, but this is a real privilege to be able to speak to you about the topic of planning your wedding. So before I dive in, I just want to say thank you to Mandy and the Gracelands team for inviting me to come and share with you today. I have prepared notes because my topic is essentially wedding planning 101. I have a lot to say about it, so to make sure that I stick to script and hopefully only share with you the most important highlights, I'm going to be referring to my notes. As Shorty said, my name is Jax. I am the owner of the Marriage Meander Company, and I publish the annual magazine, The Marriage Meander. What I spend my time doing, most of my time during the weeks, is helping brides and grooms just like you get your wedding planning journey off to a good start and connecting you with the venues and vendors that you need to be part of your team to make your magic day happen. A frequently asked question as young couples start out is, how long does it take to plan a wedding? How long should I allocate? So I come from an eventing background. My standard answer is, as long as you give yourself, that's how long it will take. So if you're going to set your date for 6 months' time, it'll take you 6 months to plan your wedding. If you've pushed your date out 2 years from now, guess what? You'll use that 2 years to get yourselves organized for your day. That said, if you are super keen and want to dive in and you book a date for 2 or 3 months down the line, it's possible, but then you need to be really flexible and relaxed and realize that if you have a short planning timeline, you may not be successful in securing your ideal venue or service provider. So if you're kind of laid back and you're happy to roll with the punches, you can turn it around in a really short time space. But I would recommend that a minimum time of 9 to 12 months of planning. Having chatted to some of you today, some of you have put your dates into 2023, which is fantastic. You've got lots of time to do your homework and get yourselves organized. Internationally and locally, 2022 is set to be one of the biggest wedding years in recent history. It's not really surprising. Lots of people have been waiting and biding their time to get married. What that means, though, is that you're potentially competing for limited resources with lots of other couples. So I'm not saying this to get you freaked out. Don't be freaked out. But just if you have your heart set on a particular venue or service providers, don't sit on your hands. Secure them for your date as soon as you are ready. All right, so I have 9 headlines that I'd like to share with you today on wedding planning. The first one is, get organized. Download your checklists, your budget trackers, spreadsheets on top of your wedding planning. Do it now. Do it today or next week. Don't wait on that. If you don't already have these kinds of templates, I have created a bunch of checklists that I would love to share with you. In fact, I have a little clipboard. Some of you have popped past my table earlier and you've put your name down there. Sign up for my Hello Bride email series, which basically talks you through the different topics and questions you need to answer to plan your wedding. The checklists that you'll receive from me include printable section dividers to populate your wedding file for the different things that you need to plan, a countdown checklist which talks you through all those steps in your to-do list from 12 months before right up to the day before your wedding, a notes page when you wake up in the middle of the night with that thought, grab your file, scribble it down on your notes page, a doodles page in case you like me and you think in pictures, and you want to do a little quick sketch that you want to show your dressmaker or your stationer, an orders tracker on top of any items that you might have ordered for your wedding, appointments log, make sure that you don't miss any of your scheduled appointments, venue checklist, a ceremony planner, so the things that you would want to go through and discuss with somebody like Beulah, a guest checklist, and a guest list RSVP tracker, which is an Excel spreadsheet, and the formulas are already in there, so you literally just put yes or no, and it'll tally them up and help you keep on track of who's coming to your wedding. So, once we've got organized, next step, number 2, do your research. This is the fun part, and I'm sure this is the part that most of the girls have already started diving into. Making use of all of the beautiful resources available to research trends and styles, what you want your dream wedding day to look like. Use the free sources available to you. My favorites when I was planning my wedding were Pinterest and Instagram. You should all have received a copy of the Marriage Meander magazine in your goodie bag. I mentioned to some of you earlier that if you wanted to take some extra copies to share with the mom, your bride tribe, your besties, your sister, I've got extra copies here. You're welcome to do that. And keep your eye on our Facebook and Instagram pages, because pretty much on a daily basis we are sharing on the topic of weddings. And last week we just posted a little bit of a trend report for 2022. Number 3, and this is also important right at the start, set your budget. So maybe the easier part of this is actually setting your budget. The hard part is what comes next. Stick to your budget. All right? A beautiful wedding is possible no matter what your budget. So don't be tempted to spend more than you and your partner are comfortable spending and have agreed to spend. You should probably also establish upfront if there are any other people who are going to be contributing to your wedding. There's parents or siblings or a great aunt. And don't take for granted that people know how much things cost. Maybe your parents have indicated that they would like to contribute towards your wedding, but they might be a bit out of touch with how much things cost. So be brave, be open, be transparent, have those conversations up front. There are also a lot of ways that you can be savvy and save when it comes to your wedding budget if you are willing to invest a little bit of energy and creativity. So things that you can do is, if you are well organized, shopping around in advance, if there's a special offer that comes up on something that you have decided you need for your wedding, you are poised to take advantage of that saving. You can be clever about your decor and bulk up your floral arrangements with non-floral items and accessories, which might be a little less expensive. You can get crafty and enlist the DIY divas in your tribe, and maybe instead of purchasing a guest favor, you can make one. And choosing a dual-purpose venue that can host both your ceremony and your reception is also often a cost saver, so you don't need to pay venue fees at 2 locations. The fourth thing that I'm just going to mention really quickly, but I'm not going to go into detail now because otherwise I think your eyes will roll back in your head, so I know mine certainly would, talking about numbers. But one of the checklists that I will share with you gives you a budget guideline, roughly how much to allocate to each category, to your venue, to your dresses, to your flowers, to your stationery, etc. So that is often helpful when you're starting out and I don't know how much to spend on each item for my wedding. The fourth thing I want to mention today is what to book first. When it comes to booking your wedding venue and vendors, they're all important. All of you are amazing. All of you are very important. So those who are here today, this is not about who's most important, but my recommendation to you is that the 5 categories that you want to check off and book first are your ceremony and reception venue, your photographer and videographer, your caterer, your musician or DJ, and your marriage officer. The other things, will then slot in after you have got those primary categories sorted. Number 5, timelines and countdowns. Once you start planning and you start making your list, you're probably going to realize that it feels like there are so many things that need to go down onto this list. Things like your transport plan. Who is driving all the various members of the bridal party in what cars? Are they going to remember to wash those cars in a couple of days before the wedding? Who is going to collect up your gifts and your money envelopes and keep them safe for you while you're on honeymoon? Who is going to return the suits to the suit company? Who's going to take your dress to go and get dry cleaned while you're off having your amazing honeymoon? All of those sorts of things. So one of the checklists that I'll share with you in my series of emails is a 12-month step-by-step countdown with my suggestions on what to tackle at each step of the journey, so that you don't suffer from this sense of overwhelm. You don't have to do everything in month 1, but as long as you've got it all nicely laid out in a list and you just methodically check it off, you will be fine. Number 6, wedding planner, yay or nay? That's a very personal decision. A lot of brides choose not to engage the services of a wedding planner. I'm one of those brides that opted not to have a wedding planner, as I have a number of decades of experience with event management. But can I tell you that even for me, being an event planner and being a member of the wedding industry, I still found my heart flutter a little bit about how much there was to get done in those last couple of months before the wedding. So what you might like to consider is a hybrid approach where you take care of some of the details that you're comfortable with that are in your wheelhouse and then outsource the rest to a wedding planner, or possibly you look at recruiting an on-the-day planner, because the most important thing, it's worth every cent that on the day as a bride you can completely relax and enjoy. As Jade mentioned, the day goes by so fast. You want to be completely present on your wedding day. The 7th thing that I want to mention to you is about the legal stuff. And Beulah touched on it in her presentation. For most couples, the bride or the lead up to the wedding is heavily focused on the dress and the decor and the flowers and all the stuff that's pretty and magical. But please, can I encourage you to make sure that you don't neglect the legal side of things and get your antenuptial contract, your ANC, sorted out before you walk down the aisle. If you get married without an ANC, you will automatically be married in community of property. And it's a very expensive thing, money you don't want to have to spend after you've just spent money on a wedding, to change your marital regime after you've got married. And your marriage officer will also be asking you for a copy of your ANC when they handle your paperwork. So that's just something to please bear in mind, and you'll also want to get your wills sorted out so that your new will takes your spouse and possibly any children that are being brought into the marriage into account. If you would like some recommendations on a good legal team that doesn't charge an arm and a leg, I would be very happy to hook you up with some trusted and reliable people. The 8th thing to quickly mention, Covert Considerations. So whilst things do seem to have returned to a relatively normal state, whatever that means in this day and age, I think it is important that you give some thought to some key covert considerations when planning your wedding, and those things include: what do we do if we are at some stage forced into a more stringent form of lockdown? Do you understand the cancellation or postponement policies of your venue and the vendors that you've appointed? Just make sure that everybody is on the same page. Have you thought about how you're going to secure your guests' comfort levels on the day? So maybe your seating is a little bit more spaced out than it would normally be. You've got sanitizer stations. Instead of serving a communal grazing board, maybe you do single-serve catering. Just think about those things. Should things change gear slightly just before your wedding? Also, when planning your honeymoon, an international trip, whilst lovely, might be a little premature at this stage. You don't want to have invested a packet of money in an overseas honeymoon and then at the last minute you can't take advantage of it. So just give that some thought when you are planning your honeymoon destination. And if you are looking for destinations on top-class South African destinations, I can certainly share some suggestions with you. South Africa has some of the best honeymoon and vacation destinations in the world. Number 9, and the last point that I want to share with you today. Please don't sweat the small stuff. As Beulah shared with you in her talk, your wedding day is really important. I get it. It was really important to me too. Your marriage is more important. No matter how organized you are, and I hope that you are going to sign up for the email series, you're going to print your checklist, you're going to be super organized, and I encourage you to be well prepared before the day. Something is going to go wrong on the day. Something's going to get forgotten. Maybe the weather is going to throw a curveball at you. You have no control over those things. Brides and grooms, if we've got some very hands-on grooms here today, on your wedding morning, you will have been doing this probably for a lot of the time in the driving seat. Release your sticky little fingers from the steering wheel. You've done what you need to do. This is your day. Let go. From the moment you open your eyes, enjoy every single moment of that day. It really does pass by in a blur. If the odd thing happens that wasn't in your script, that's okay. Just have fun. So before you go into serious information overload, I know it's been a lot of speeches, so I'm going to wrap up there. Please pop your details down. I'll also be doing a little lucky draw for those of you who signed up for the email series, and somebody here today in the next half an hour will be taking a nice bottle of champers, a little tiny bag, a no drama llama bag to remind you that no dramas in the lead up to your wedding and a marriage meander keyring. And if you have any questions along the way on your wedding planning journey, I am here to offer support and to connect you with somebody that can hopefully solve whatever problem it is that you have and provide the service that you're looking for. Thank you and happy planning.